By all accounts, MGM Resorts International is a company that should be dying. And if they were only a Vegas operation, they would likely go bankrupt. In this video, I'm going to express my opinion, which I have to give you the disclaimer of for legal opinions, about how MGM Resorts International is nearly a zombie company. There are actually 639 zombie companies operating across America. You had no idea that your favorite retailer could be slowly going out of business, bleeding away from the inside. We got a lot of room to cover, so let's get on with it. This is Stephen J. Campbell, where you might come for a bit of Vegas news, but you stay and learn at least 1% more. So the article that caught my attention was this one from the RJ, our local newspaper. Strip casino giant sees revenues decline in 25 as Las Vegas tourism dips. Now, on the surface, this doesn't seem like much a big deal, but when you look at the stock for MGM Resorts International, that's when you start to notice there's something wrong here. Something's not quite right. This is what MGM Resorts International looks like. You're dating all the way back to 2023 when they were at their peak, $50.92, all the way down to earlier on in April when they were $27. The article from the Review Journal reads that MGM Resorts International's Vegas Strip operations generated $8.4 billion in net revenues last year, down 4%, and $2.9 billion in core operating earnings, an 8% decline from 2024. Read that again. Percent decline from 2024. And because things are better in threes, an 8% decline. And you won't believe how they're planning on making more money. It's not by giving you a better experience. It's not by making your next stay magical. We'll get to that in a minute. But why should this be worrisome? Well, it comes down to the entire leaseback situation they have in Vegas and how I've been telling you these companies are destined for failure in this town. Before I do you know how much it means to me when you like, share, you subscribe, and you comment? It really shows me that you think I'm doing a decent job. And if I've worked hard enough for that, you'll click it now. Loaded question. Did anybody watch Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl? Leave me a comment below. I read all your comments. I'm interested to know what your take on that was. And I might even just reply, and there's no wrong answer. If you loved Bad Bunny, you can say that. That's cool too. You see, when companies borrow money, they have to pay it back. This leads them to having all these different financial calculations that they have to put into their books. It allows investors to make good decisions about where they put their money. One of these metrics is called the interest coverage ratio. And in the past, when an interest coverage ratio gets too off kilter, companies fail. These then become known as zombie companies. Companies of which there are 639 such in America. Some of them are huge names that are just on the verge, just on the cusp of failure. Companies like Boeing, where they have to service so much debt, there's no way they can be profitable. Look carefully, because analysts think that maybe 1 out of 5 companies, 20% of everything in America, is sitting with the inability to actually cover their interest payments, which means they're completely unprofitable companies. And yet this doesn't spook Wall Street. The chart next to me is the S&P 500 futures chart, and you can clearly see the upward trend. The stock market is in absolute buy mode right now. You can't go wrong if you just park your money in the markets, but so many of you guys probably don't have money for that kind of stuff. So let's not talk about that. But in all seriousness, you guys have to know that just because 1 in 5 companies aren't profitable, you can actually be cashing in on this stuff, which leads us real fast to our sponsor for this video. So it's probably a really bad idea to start my sponsorship spot off with a conspiracy theory. But what I think to be true is that they don't want you, regular people, trading in the markets. They make it sound like it's some big thing when it's dead simple. They want you to be broke. They want you to be frustrated. They want you to be fighting on social media forums about politics and the culture. But that's not the way it has to be. Look, check this out. Day like today, right? Perfect example of this. If you knew that for 2 hours straight, every single time a big green bar came right after a little couple set of red bars, that you would have about a 6 or 7 minute period to make potentially $50 to $2,000 or $3,000. Would you take it if it were that simple? Because it really is. That's why I made my own course. It's called 1K a day. In it, I got students doing that every single day. They're going in with their laptops 15 and 20 minutes later. They're finished. They're done. They got a smile on their face. Their life is better. You don't want to suck in life. You want to have better life. No suck life equals better life. If that sounds like it would change your life to learn that skill, take action in 2026, then I want you to click the link in the first pinned comment below. I want you to type in the code NEWS04. Be one of the only 4 people. I only do 4 coupon codes per video nowadays. And I want you to get the whole thing for $199. You get my whole course, no upsells, just one time. You own it for life. I add to it all the time. I'm still adding videos to the course, by the way. And you're going to get it for less than a pair of like AirPod Pros. These things will last you until the battery dies. The course will last you a lifetime. And do it before I increase the price, because I know when I got students like this right here making $500 or so a day, and I got students making $3,000 a day, I know it's worth more than the cost of entry. And let's get back though to that MGM situation. Like, how in the weeds are they? How can we mathematically figure out where they're at? Well, the good news is economics majors are geniuses. So we know exactly how close they are to being a zombie company. Now, their CEO, Bill Hornbuckle, he admitted a few things in their earnings call when he said 2024 was an amazing year. Now, no kidding it was. 2025 was difficult. Now, it was your own self-doing. You know, you're going to have some self-flagellation for that one, Bill. You guys were charging way too much money to the regular people. He told investors and analysts during an earnings call, but generally speaking, we feel very positive enough to think we're going to exit 26 on the up. Well, that's all well and good. But going back to the zombie company, how close are they? Like, where are they on the whole we're not healthy right now? Well, we can see that right here if we run the numbers. If we look at the ICR, the income credit ratio, we can see that companies that are like, you know, Apple and Walmart, they're sitting in the 5 to 8 range. They're strong. They can pay all their bills and have lots of money left over for their investors. As we move down a little bit, though, we get into the 2.5 to 3, which is fair/weak territory, vulnerable to shocks in the market. Sound familiar? It should, because recently MGM Resorts International had their stock outlook downgraded to simply stable, not necessarily buy, which is pretty bad. Recently, Morgan Stanley downgraded MGM Resorts stock based on the challenges or the shockwave they've had. So now the grand reveal, where are they on this ratio, this list? Well, if we check out financecharts.com, we can see it right here. How are they doing? They have an interest coverage ratio of 3.17. And once again, when you're in the 3 territory, 3 to 5, you're adequate. Falling below 3, that puts you vulnerable to shocks in the market. Anything before that, you're basically at risk of having to refinance, borderline distressed territory. So one has to ask themselves, why do these CEOs of Vegas companies keep just basically kicking the can down the road? I mean, look at this. It's always about, we continue to see positive trends. And as we begin 2026, it's always about revenue growth on the strip at the end of 2026. And they're just hoping that they can get far enough into the recovery so that they can capitalize on what is building to be a strong American recovery. But how are they going to do it? That's the backhanded slap in the face for everybody who comes to Vegas, all the regular folks, right? Because we see it right here. The company highlighted operational improvements and technology upgrades. Digital check-ins at top-tier resorts rose 18% last year, while AI-powered concierge tools handled more than 1 million guest chats, which executives said is helping reduce wait times and check-in times. It's just a nice way of saying what we've been saying, which is essentially that AI is going to be cutting jobs out of the Vegas experience, just like it's been cutting jobs out of every single industry across the country for a last 6 months to a year. The AI bloodletting is getting absolutely worse. Layoffs hit worst moment since 2009 during throes of financial crisis. U.S. employers announced over 108,000 layoffs across January, in the highest to start the year since the depths of the Great Recession in 2009. Many executives were quick to blame AI for the layoffs, though the real reason might be simpler. Companies just aren't optimistic about the direction the economy is heading. But how can you not be optimistic? This is the NASDAQ, the top 100 tech companies in the entire world. This is the S&P 500. another set of 500 large companies, companies that you know. And hey, look, it's the Dow Jones Industrial Futures. This stuff never stops. It's always going up. So while on one side of their mouth, they're talking about the AI apocalypse that's coming for all of our jobs, and what does it mean for workers? On the other side, when they're talking to you, you got to remember they're cutting themselves monthly bonus dividend checks because they know this and you don't know this, which leads me into my second pitch for this. You have to learn this stuff. You don't have to have, listen to me carefully. I'm very animated right now when I get into this mode. I'm passionate about this stuff. When you think affluent asset holding, you're thinking money, right? But that's not the case. You just need that little bit of financial education, just enough that you can piggyback off their success. Because once you find out how simple it is to see something like, oh, well, a green bar came up after a set of red ones and then it shot up and, oh, I'm going to take some money right here. You'll be laughing at yourself while your friends are worried about and texting you about, well, the market's melting down. You're like, that's totally cool because guess what? It went down and I made some money too. I mean, I'll stop right now. Click the below, get the course if you want to. I don't care. But that's just what gets me so riled up about this because I see these big giant companies who are putting your life, your livelihood, your family's ability to eat, to own a home someday, to put your kids through college. I see them putting that out there so they can cut you off and blame AI boogeyman, whether or not it's really that. And I see these Vegas companies like MGM right here patting themselves on the back for cutting out human jobs and making things more profitable and then saying it's a better guest experience. Two things. Number one, you watch me this long, click subscribe, hit like, hit the bell, do that. But leave me a comment below if you watch this far. Have you ever had a good chat experience? Like with an AI, you call and it says, I'm a complete AI and I can recognize words. Has that ever played out well for you? Tell me below. One thing's for certain with all of this mess that we're going into in this new era of digital rule that we have to live under is that it's not going to get any easier for anybody. It's only going to get more expensive. I haven't even touched upon inflation. I want to talk about that, specifically Vegas inflation. I'm going to do a whole video on that. So subscribe. I think I'll have to make that video tomorrow. I have other videos in the works too. I do videos every day, Monday through Friday. It's not going to get any cheaper for you. So you might as well learn how all of this stuff works because this is the era we're going into. And before you say AI this, AI that, I don't believe in it. There are a lot of people in the biggest cities in America, places like New York and Boston, who said, cars, nothing's going to replace the horse and buggy. So you better get on this stuff. And with that, I will tell you this. I love yelling about this stuff into my camera because if it even helps even one single person out, fantastic. It means that you guys at least have a chance. And if you're watching this video and you've subscribed and you have liked the video so far, you're one of the good ones out there that's going to have a good future. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. And with that, I will leave you with this. There's a video right next to my head. You should click on it. It's a video that I made that YouTube knows you're going to love. Watch some more of my stuff. That helps the algorithm too if you like this video and it made sense to you. We'll get you in the next one. And as my mentor always tells me, just keep swimming.